In keeping with the measures to gradually reopen the economy, there are other incremental steps being taken. As of Sunday, June 7, 2020, where a funeral service is being held, subject to social distancing and other health protocols, a maximum of 50 persons will be able to attend. If the venue can only hold 30 persons, for example, taking into account the social distancing requirement, then only 30 persons can attend. Even if the facility, by virtue of the physical distancing, that is the person to square footage, one person to 36 square feet, even if the facility, by virtue of that, could hold 100 persons for the funeral service, only 50 should be at the service. And let me just be clear, this is for the funeral service. This is not for the burial. So this is a funeral service alone. So for burials, that is at the graveside. The maximum of 15, of which no more than 10 may be mourners, has not been changed. Many requests to look at weddings, and that's another incremental step. So in terms of modifications to that order, the attendance at weddings, which will take effect also on Sunday, June 7, 2020, subject to social distancing and other health protocols at the selected venues, including a place of worship, a maximum of 50 persons will be able to attend a wedding. If the venue can only hold 30 persons, taking into account the social distancing requirement, then only 30 persons can attend.
Effect as of Sunday, all public beaches that are licensed under the Beach Control Act or otherwise will open from 6 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m. in the evening. No more than 10 persons at any time shall gather in any one area of the beach. The operators of these locations will not be permitted to provide any form of seating, but persons visiting the beach would be allowed to take their own personal chairs. The activities will be limited only to swimming, and there can be some jogging on the beach, but there is no provisions in the order for any social activities. So there shall be no beach party. So it is just for swimming and jogging, and we are restricting these activities, which also include football, volleyball, dominoes, etc. Those activities will not be permitted during the operating hours of the beach. Vendors shall not be permitted to walk the beach with items for sale. Bathroom facilities will be strictly enforced using the protocols that is outlined by the Ministry of Health. Rivers at times substitute for beaches, and we are putting in the same guideline and conditions. And the operating hours is between 6 to 8 p.m. Again, there will be no river parties. It is strictly for the purpose of domestic use, because most of the rivers are used for catching water, washing, fishing, and crossing. I want to emphasize that the orders that was extended as it relates to sport bars and places of amusement, nightclubs, is still enforced. And this order also does not give the right for any water attractions to be open. All water attractions will remain closed.
As a result of feedback that we have been receiving, we have simplified the JAM COVID application process to have only one stage of approval. We previously had a two-stage approval process with a conditional approval and then a final approval. Therefore, anyone that was previously conditionally approved will automatically receive their travel authorization. The travel authorization is required in order for you to book your flight and also to be allowed to board the flight. We now have 4,100 applications that have been approved. These persons are now able to book any available flights and return to Jamaica. There are 2,729 applications for which we are awaiting the home quarantine assessment questions to be answered. We have sent out multiple email reminders asking for this information, and I am making a special appeal to those persons to provide it as soon as possible. The health and immigration authorities are not able to process your application without this information. We are working with the airlines to get flights scheduled as soon as possible. We have advised the airlines that we have the capacity to take up to 6 flights a day, 3 at each airport, 1 flight per day from the Caribbean, and 2 flights from North America or elsewhere, 1 in the morning and another in the evening.
We are committed to reopening in a safe and controlled manner to protect our most treasured asset, our people. We have developed several tools to protect our workers. The first line of protection we have put in place is a resilience corridor for tourism travel. Tourist movement in this area will be controlled, and they will not be allowed to leave the corridor. You will notice that the corridor essentially moves from Negril along the main road areas, east-northeast, along that highway all the way to Port Antonio, so that all the properties on the windward side, or the beach side, so to speak, would be embraced in that corridor. Businesses within the corridor will go through extensive training and will not be allowed to open until they have been assessed by TPDCO, which will happen in a phased manner. To guide businesses that are reopening, we have designed detailed operating protocols for each segment of the industry. So we have left nothing for chance here. From training to supplies to procedures, everything is covered in this document. In fact, the World Travel and Tourism Council, a global leader in the tourism industry, has reviewed and endorsed our protocol with their stamp of approval. We have increased the staff complement of the TPDCO's Product Quality Control Department from 11 to 77 to ensure they have the proper capacity to take on this work in the prescribed areas. The ministry commenced training during this period, and indeed during the period when the closure was effected from March 10 on to today, some 5,000 tourism workers have completed training in a number of key skilled areas. I want to ensure that all our workers know exactly what they need to do, how to respond to the variety of different situations that they will encounter, and most importantly, I want them to be trained not just in their ordinary skills, but also in the skills of communicating and supporting emotional activities and developments that may happen around them while they are at work. As a next step, each business will be assessed by TPDCO to ensure they are compliant with the protocols and that the workers have been trained before they are allowed to open. If the assessment is successful by the TPDCO, they will receive a certificate, which I'm sure you're seeing on screen. And they will receive that certificate, which must be displayed properly in their establishment to indicate that their business is TPD protocol compliant. It is important to recognize that the support will not stop once the assessment is complete. The workers will receive ongoing training and the comfort of knowing the businesses that they are involved in while we monitor and ensure that there is ongoing compliance on the part of all. All workers will have access to an on-site trained COVID-19 safety point person and an on-site or on-call medical professional. This combination of resources will provide workers with the resources they need for quick health consultation, isolation, and testing if required. In addition, we are in a final stage discussion now with insurance and global logistics providers. They will also enable travelers who test positive to be quickly isolated and repatriated. This will help to reduce the strain on our public health system, making sure healthcare capacities that we know we have is consistent for our workers and for our communities.